Tantor Audio, a division of Recorded Books, presents Long Summer Nights by Aharon Appelfeld. Translated by Jeffrey M. Green. Narrated by Neil Hellegers. 1. They walk from field to field, from woods to woods. After walking for an hour, they stop next to a tree, sit in its shade, and then continue. When their path takes them to a stream or a well, Yannick draws a pail of water, and they rinse their faces and drink until their thirst is quenched. "Are you tired?" Grandpa Serhi asks. "No," Yannick answers. "We'll rest a little and move on." Thus they wander. Always the same sights. In spring and summer they rest under a tree. In fall and winter they sleep in roadside inns or the alcove of a church. With the small amounts of money people give them, they buy food, but there are days when they're hungry. They're called wanderers. In some villages people attack them. Grandpa Serhi says, "That's our fate in this world. We mustn't complain. Complainers are miserable." On the way, they speak little. If Grandpa Serhi asks a question, Yannick answers with a word or two. Grandpa Serhi doesn't like talk and chatter. Sometimes a day passes without his uttering a word. Usually they reach villages toward evening, when the flocks return from pasture. Yannick loves that hour, the moist smells of mowed clover and the fragrances of milk and bread. They don't go into the village. They lay their bundles next to a tree, near a grove of trees and a stream. Yannick tells Grandpa Serhi what his eyes see. The changes aren't many, but when he discovers a change, he's glad to tell about it. Grandpa Serhi is blind, and he inclines his head attentively. Sometimes he asks about a building or a barn that once impressed him. His memory is vast. In the summer, they sit under a tree during the day, lighting a fire and roasting potatoes. Grandpa is lost in thought, and Yannick looks at all the wonders that surround him. They eat without speaking. Toward the end of the meal, Grandpa says, "Everything was delicious. We must thank God." To end the meal, Yannick makes a cup of tea for Grandpa Serhi and lights his pipe for him. For a long time, Grandpa sips from the cup and puffs on the pipe. The summer evenings continue deep into the night. Yannick loves these hours of light. If they have a watermelon, Yannick cuts it, and they both eat the red slices. Even after midnight, the remains of the light still glow. Grandpa asks, "How does the sky look?" Yannick answers, "There's still a lot of light." "But still, it's late, and we have to sleep," says Grandpa, laying his head on a folded sack and falling asleep. Yannick keeps looking at the lights of the night, and while doing so, he sees the path they have taken since morning. Now, they will rest here until Sunday. On Sunday, they go to church. They don't allow wanderers, lepers, or insane people to enter. Yannick removes his hat and places it at his feet, a sign that he and the man at his side are asking for charity. Hearts don't open easily. Mostly the people hurry into the service and ignore the needy, but it sometimes happens that someone removes a banknote from his pocket and lays it in Yannick's hat. Yannick promptly thanks them. A month ago, a man removed a banknote from his pocket and placed it in Yannick's hat. To their surprise, it was for 200 marks. Grandpa Serhi blessed God and called out loud, "May God preserve your health." Sometimes they stay where they are after the church service. Usually no one approaches them, but it may happen that a woman brings them hot food and stays with them until they finish eating. In the end, she asks, "Where are you headed?" Grandpa Serhi lists the nearby villages and says, "I assume that tonight we'll sleep at Yadovets." "Is anyone expecting you?" she asks for some reason. "No," answers Grandpa curtly. "And what will you do there?" she keeps asking. We'll stay for a few days in the shade of a tree and then move on. And where do you want to get to? Wherever our feet take us. Upon hearing Grandpa Serhi's answer, the woman chuckles out loud. In the end, she gathers up the dishes and asks, "Won't you ever get home?" Grandpa Serhi tells her the truth. "We have no home. The sky is our roof." The woman looks at him and says, "A person should look for a home." "Once we looked, but now we've stopped," says Grandpa Serhi, surprising the woman again. "Anyway, take care of yourselves," she says, and disappears. 2. One night, a year and a half ago, Yannick's father brought him to Grandpa Serhi and said, "I'm leaving my son with you. Take care of him, my friend." "I'll watch over him," said Grandpa Serhi with his astounding brevity. "Take this little bundle. There's a little money in it, my wedding ring and my wife's and my wristwatch. Tomorrow they're driving us out of the city." The money was in the form of bills issued by the German occupation government. "Don't give anything to me. You'll surely need these valuables more than I do. You're going far, who knows where. I'm staying here. Please take it. I don't have a lot to give you. When I get back, I'll pay you many times over." "Have a cup of tea," Grandpa Serhi urged him. "I can't, my friend. I have to go back." He hugged Yannick and whispered in his ear, "Do what Grandpa Serhi tells you to do. The time will pass, and we'll come back home." He went over to Grandpa Serhi, hugged him, and said, "My son's a good boy." And he blocked the tears in his eyes. Without further delay, he went on his way. Grandpa Serhi knows Yannick's father very well. For many years, he worked in his lumber yard. After he went blind, he used to come to the lumber yard to advise customers. The customers liked him and his advice. At their 10 o'clock break, they would eat a sandwich together and drink a cup of coffee. Their friendship lasted for years. Yannick's father kept paying him his salary even after he went blind, until he got into financial trouble, went bankrupt, and the lumber yard was seized. Already completely blind, with no one to help him, Grandpa Serhi began to wander among the fields from village to village. After his father disappeared into the darkness, Grandpa Serhi asked Yannick, "Are you hungry?" "No," Yannick answered. "Still, you should eat something. How many hours did you walk?" 3, maybe 4. "You've got to eat. You'll be wandering together with me. Wanderers have no home. They have to be strong." After a pause, Grandpa Serhi went on, "We sleep in our clothes, and we don't take off our boots until everything around us is quiet. But don't worry. You'll get used to this life real quick. Wanderers are like soldiers, always on the alert. But there are little pleasures that will make you happy." Yannick was floored. He didn't know what to say or what to ask. Only that morning he was still at home, next to his mother. Before going out, his father had tried to reassure his mother, who was standing next to the stove, trembling. That night, Grandpa Serhi said, "You have to change your name. From now on, you'll be Yannick, and not Michael. You're smart, and you know why you have to do that. After the war, you can go back to your name." Yannick was tired and foggy. The last days in the cellar, the fear that soldiers might come down and grab him, and finally the confusing walk to Grandpa Serhi had exhausted him. He laid his head on the ground and fell asleep. When Yannick woke up, he didn't know where he was. Grandpa Serhi was awake, drinking tea and puffing on his pipe. "How did you sleep?" asked Grandpa Serhi. "I slept at home," Yannick answered in confusion. "So it seems to you. But you slept here, in your winter coat." "They didn't kill me?" "Don't be afraid. Nothing bad will happen to you. True, I'm blind, but I know this region very well. During my military service, I was around here. I did months of training here, and later on I trained other soldiers." Yannick remembered his father's instructions. "Don't ask a lot of questions. Do what Grandpa Serhi tells you to do, and if it's hard for you, don't complain. The war will be over, and I'll come and get you." Grandpa Serhi sensed that Yannick wasn't at ease. He spoke to him softly, saying, "You have nothing to be afraid of. Rest. After you've rested and gotten used to the place, we'll make lunch." That very day, the unpleasant side of the place was revealed to him. A boy walked by and hissed at him. "Dirty Jew!" Grandpa Serhi heard and said, "Don't pay attention to that little snake. You'll beat the daylights out of him one day." In the evening, Grandpa Serhi said to him, "You have to change clothes. City clothes will give you away. I have a linen shirt and trousers in my pack. I figure they'll be a bit big on you, but don't worry. You can roll up the pants and take in the waist with a couple of big safety pins that I still have from the army." Yannick put on the new clothes and felt as if he was in disguise. Grandpa Serhi went on to say, "Excuse me, to make the camouflage complete, I'm going to put a little wooden cross around your neck, so you won't arouse any suspicion." "Will I wear these clothes all the time?" Yannick asked. "In a little while, you'll get used to them." The clothes smelled like animals, and Yannick couldn't stop sneezing. "You'll also get used to the smell, I promise you." Yannick didn't know what to say or what to ask. He felt as if something of his own had been taken from him. It was hard for him to explain that feeling to Grandpa Serhi. Grandpa Serhi made it easier for him and said, "It's just a temporary camouflage. The day will come, and it's not far off, and you'll take off this camouflage and go back to being what you were." Grandpa's words calmed him. But at night, in a dream, he felt heavy and handcuffed. His shouts could be heard all around. With all his strength, he tried in vain to flee. In the end, he fell from a great height and woke up. Grandpa Serhi asked, "Don't you feel comfortable in the new clothes? We'll see. Maybe in a few days we'll buy you a shirt and trousers that fit you. Meanwhile, you have to get used to this situation. Don't forget, soldiers at the front get used to every situation." "Are we soldiers?" "We're like soldiers." Yannick wanted to ask what it meant to be like soldiers, but he held his tongue. He remembered that his father told him several times, "Don't ask too many questions." 3. After they'd been wandering for several weeks, it sometimes seemed to Yannick that they'd been on the road forever. "Are wanderers different from the people who live in houses?" Yannick asked. After a pause, Grandpa Serhi answered, "They don't talk much, and they like to observe and listen." "Don't they work in the fields?" "They don't have fields of their own." "So how do they make a living?" "You saw from the gifts of flesh and blood," Grandpa Serhi answered quickly. Grandpa Serhi handed him a slice of dry bread and said, "Wanderers aren't fussy. They eat what they have." "Last night, a little fox came close to me," Yannick told him. "Don't be afraid. He won't harm you. You're wearing a strong, thick military coat, and at night I button it up over your head. I even cover your feet with the coat. Are you warm?" "Very." "That coat preserved me in the army, and it will preserve you now." When Yannick curls up in the coat, he sees his father and mother, and his heart is stirred with longing. That only lasts a moment. The weeks he's spent with Grandpa Serhi have erased the near and beloved sights from his mind. He no longer dreams about the handyman or the housekeeper. He sees the fields before his eyes and the groves of trees that surround them. Grandpa Serhi doesn't allow him to wander off on his own. You have to study these dangerous areas before you go out into them. He spends most of the day curled up in the military coat, sitting next to Grandpa Serhi and observing him. What should I do, Grandpa Serhi, to be a wanderer? Observe and think. Sometimes it seems to Yannick that his father didn't bring him here to hide from the war, but to learn the ways of the wanderers. Grandpa Serhi doesn't speak with people much. If they ask him something, he answers briefly, but there are some insolent boys who call him a dirty beggar. Grandpa Serhi doesn't flinch. He gets up and curses them. Early on, he said, "Come, friend, I'll teach you how to brew tea. Tea's a beverage the body thirsts for. We drink it 2 or 3 times a day. It nourishes body and soul. Tea, even simple herbal tea, livens the heart." "At night I get homesick," Yannick told him. Homesickness is a noble feeling. It takes us far away from ourselves, to the people we love. Hold on to your homesickness, but don't overdo it. Now pull your legs and head into the coat and close your eyes. Good night. Sometimes it seems to Yannick that dogs approach them with the intention of biting him. He holds his breath and clings to the edges of the coat. One morning, a girl came up to him and asked, "Where are you from?" "From here," Yannick answered. "Do you live in the village?" "No, we're on our way to another village." "Are you wanderers?" "Naturally," Yannick said, because he could find no further words. "Are you wanderers or beggars?" Yannick didn't know the difference, and to get out of the tangle, he said, "What difference does it make?" But he added right away, "And what do you do?" "I go to school." "How old are you?" 11. "I'm also 11, and I'm in 6th grade. "Where's your school?" "Grandpa Serhi is my teacher." "Is he a strict teacher?" "No." "That's strange," said the girl. "Are you a good student?" Yannick asked. "My report card is okay. Just 1 grade in arithmetic is a D." "Don't worry. Next year you'll improve it." "When are you leaving?" "On Sunday, after church." "Too bad. Maybe we'll see each other again sometime," she said, and went away. After the girl went away, Yannick saw his school before his eyes, the children racing down the corridors, Olga, the teacher, standing at the entrance to the playground, smoking a cigarette. That familiar sight, which he'd never paid attention to, moved him, and he wondered, why am I the only one they expelled from school? 4. One day Grandpa Serhi said, "Today, after breakfast, we'll start training. Without training, you'll be weak. The boys in the village will pick on you and insult you. Running is the basis of all physical training. Running at a steady pace with the correct breathing will make you taller, the muscles of your arms and legs will fill out. After a month, you'll feel your body and be surprised. Your gloomy thoughts will also disappear as if they never were." Yannick set out to run around the fields. "Don't rush, just keep a steady pace," Grandpa Serhi instructed him. When he returned from the run, his leg muscles hurt, and he collapsed on the ground, short of breath and exhausted. Grandpa Serhi told him to massage his legs with some oil. "This is the first step of the way, Yannick. A sound body will protect you and your soul. The soul is soft and delicate, and only a strong body can wrap it up and protect it." "Can you see the soul?" Yannick asked. "No, just as it's impossible to see God." Yannick went out on a morning run every day. At first the runs exhausted him, but gradually he learned to overcome the muscle cramps. The next task Grandpa Serhi imposed on him was to climb trees. This task also wasn't easy at the beginning. For days he learned to use his arms and legs well, to grasp the branches properly and move from branch to branch. Sometimes he hung from one branch in order to swing himself over to a nearby tree. Grandpa Serhi stood at the foot of the trees and asked, "Where are you? Now what are you doing?" Yannick tried to tell him exactly. That month Grandpa Serhi also told him to look for logs and train in picking them up. After 2 months of tough training, Yannick felt the muscles of his body, and when boys threw stones at him, he went toward them angrily. The first confrontations were hesitant, but as time passed, fear abandoned him. Grandpa Serhi often repeated his instruction. You have to keep training. Every workout adds to your strength. Most people are cowards. Daring and firmness scare them. Too bad they're not afraid of God. One night, 2 boys tried to steal their bundles. Yannick woke up and leaped at them. In a few minutes, he overcame both of the robbers. Grandpa Serhi was pleased by Yannick's quickness and the way he had acted. When he was young, Grandpa Serhi had been in a special army unit. He was a daring soldier, a champion long-distance runner and weightlifter, a model soldier. Because of that, they promoted him to the rank of Master Sergeant. If he'd finished high school, they would have sent him to the officers' training course. His long military service had made him a nocturnal creature whose hearing was sharp and who caught scents before other people did. His sense of taste was also fine, and he could always tell what was fresh and what was spoiled and thus inedible. After he went blind, his other senses grew more acute. Sometimes he would stop in the middle of a field and say, "Rain is on the way. We have to find a tree with thick leaves." There might be no signs of rain around them. The sun could be in the middle of the sky without wind or clouds. But Grandpa Serhi's forecast was always right. The sky would quickly be covered with clouds, and rain would fall. Blindness spoiled his life, but it didn't affect his faith in God and in good people. When Grandpa Serhi gropes with his cane, he looks hesitant, but his voice is clear, and even his silence has great strength. All his conduct shows he was a commander. When they met one of Grandpa Serhi's former trainees, he couldn't get a word out of his mouth because he was so moved. Finally he asked, "How are you, sir?" "Fine," Grandpa Serhi replied. "I miss my time in the army," said the man, almost bursting into tears. "Everything in its own time. When a man is young, he climbs mountains and ties ropes over chasms and welcomes every danger eagerly. When you're older, you have time to think. Thinking drives me crazy, sir. Say to yourself, for my part, I did the best I could, and the rest is in the hands of heaven. I haven't attained that high level, sir. You have to accept life quietly, Gregor." Grandpa Serhi spoke softly to him. "How can I accept it quietly? My wife drives me crazy, and my daughters have strayed from the right path." "As I said, quietly. If not, you'll go crazy. You evaluate the situation, weigh the possibilities, and in the end, you decide to act. Once, sir, I knew that way. The army and dangers taught me patience. Even today, you can say, I'm doing what's right in God's eyes, and the rest is in the hands of heaven." Gregor sighed and said, "I'm so glad I met you, sir. You restored me to the fine days of my youth. I was proud to be under your command. We were all proud of you. Together we were sent to God-forsaken places to save people from avalanches and flash floods. Our togetherness was amazing. We would get to dangerous places by foot and try to do everything possible, and even the impossible. Life meant something. Gregor, my friend, don't be angry at me if I tell you that your life means something today, too." Gregor bowed his head and didn't answer. For a long time, Gregor sat next to his former commander and didn't utter a syllable. Finally, he turned to Grandpa Serhi and said, "Sir, not a day passes when I don't see you before my eyes. May God help you. Who deserves his attention more than you?" Without adding another word, he went on his way. 5. Summer days are long. Yannick sits for hours and observes the colors of the sky. Grandpa Serhi puffs on his pipe, and from time to time he asks, "How's the sky?" Yannick answers, "There's still a lot of light." Mostly they're quiet, but from time to time Grandpa Serhi is roused from his silence and tells about his army days, his fellow soldiers, the training, raids, and rescues. Not every soldier is accepted in the rescue unit. The tests are hard. You need stamina and resourcefulness and determination. Anyone who doesn't meet those standards is rejected. Grandpa Serhi reminded his soldiers that service in the special unit was a great privilege. Frequently he would praise a soldier with these words: "You're a soldier in every cell of your body, and at the same time you're moral, and you're not arrogant." When Grandpa Serhi tells about the time of his military service, his eyelids tremble, and his forehead gleams, and it's clear that his memory is showing him clear pictures. "Was it hard in the special unit, Grandpa Serhi?" Yannick asks cautiously. "Hard, but good," answers Grandpa Serhi. "I was young and strong, and I leaped like a panther. All my life was ahead of me, and I had no worries. Those were the most beautiful days of my life. I would come home and the whole village cheered for me. In time, my uniform got full of medals. The village children would look at me with admiration and list my medals according to their importance. On Sundays, in church, the village notables would approach me and shake my hand. To tell you the truth, my heart was proud." "Grandpa Serhi, will I be in the army too?" "I assume so, but you have many years before you're drafted. How old are you?" 11. "You have a lot of years before you." Grandpa Serhi tells his stories briefly, without many details. Yannick listens and doesn't bother him with unnecessary questions. He stores up every story that Grandpa tells him in his memory. Yannick loves his voice and the tobacco smell that wafts up from his pipe. When Grandpa Serhi gets excited, he swallows some of his words, and Yannick doesn't catch the whole story, just a few images, but they're retained. Meanwhile, it's time to get fresh supplies. Yannick goes to a peasant woman from whom he bought before. On the Sunday before, the churchgoers had been kind, and they had received generous contributions. Now Yannick had enough money to buy things. The peasant woman recognizes Yannick and calls him by name. She brings cucumbers, tomatoes, little onions, and potatoes from her garden, and she adds a loaf of brown bread, a jug of milk, and a slice of cheese. The peasant woman names a price, and Yannick immediately answers, "Too expensive. I don't have that much money." "How much can you give?" asked the peasant woman. "I have a 50-mark bill." "I won't give you the labor of my hands for 50 marks. "That's all I have," Yannick answers. "For 50 marks, I can't give you the loaf of bread or the jug of milk." "I'll go to another farm," says Yannick. "At another farm, you'll get rotten vegetables and sour milk." "You're an honest woman. Last time you gave me fresh produce." Yannick flatters her. "Everything I have is fresh, but not for free," says the peasant woman. "I'll go," says Yannick. "Last time you sold for 50 marks, and you were satisfied. Go. We'll see whether anyone will give you fresh produce like mine." "I'll go," says Yannick. "Fine," says the peasant woman. "Take away whatever you want, except for the bread and cheese," Yannick suggests. "I'll also take away the jug of milk." "Please leave the jug of milk." "Go away, I don't want to see you again," says the peasant woman with feigned anger. In the end, Yannick hands her the bill and adds 2 smaller bills, puts the supplies in his sack, and with the jug of milk in his hand, he heads for the gate. "May God bless you," he says. The peasant woman doesn't respond to his blessing, a sign that she's still annoyed. Grandpa Serhi hears Yannick's steps as he approaches and calls out, "Yannick?" Yannick removes the sack from his shoulder and tells him what he has brought. Grandpa Serhi's blind eyes smile. He had also taught Yannick how to bargain, what to say and what not to say, and the main thing, to be calm and avoid eagerness. "How did the negotiations go?" Grandpa Serhi asks. "They were long," Yannick answers. "What did you tell her?" "I told her I'd go to another peasant woman." "Brave guy," says Grandpa Serhi, and pats him on the shoulder. Yannick places a few potatoes on the campfire and hands Grandpa Serhi a piece of bread, cheese, and tomatoes. They sit and eat. The bread is fresh and tasty, and the tomatoes are juicy and sweet.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?